I think one of my interests about Europe is the barbarian invasions of Europe with the fall of the Roman Empire. I think with the fall of the Roman Empire we had quite a few barbarian invasions. I think 15 to 20 barbarian invasions of Europe. I think this is quite significant for Europe because it kind of, I think those invasions changed 40% of the population of Europe at the time. I think that's what those invasions did. It changed 40% of the population of Europe at that time, and I think the rest developed from there. So I think those barbarian invasions, the Visigoths and the Gauls and the Germans as well, and the Huns and quite a few other invasions. I think it introduced a different kind of a population for Europe, because I believe that those barbarian invasions are barbarian invasions. They come from Asia Minor. I think that's where those barbarian invasions come from. So I think that a lot of today's European DNA could be barbarian in nature, or have a barbarian makeup, or have an origin from Asia Minor. If you look at the DNA of modern Europeans, and if you look at their physical appearance and condition, I think they do have a characteristic of those barbarian invasions or barbarians. I think that they could look like Asia Minor and have DNA like Asia Minor, and I think probably 80% of today's modern European population is probably Asia Minor in origin. It has a DNA from Asia Minor, so I think it has a characteristic from those barbarian invasions. So I think that's slightly perhaps awkward and unusual, because European people claim to be they feel strongly about their heritage of feeling European. I think Europeans feel that they have a heritage of being European, but I think that could be quite misleading, because I think that most of their genetic makeup is perhaps a result, it could be quite barbarian in nature, and could be a result of the barbarian invasions which we saw after the fall of the Roman Empire. So I think that's the condition and reality of Europe, that it seems to have some kind of a makeup like that. If you look at the houses in Europe, those kind of dwellings, I think they're called dwellings. They could be barbarian accommodation. If you look at the food that Europeans eat, that could also be barbarian in nature, and have some kind of heritage from those barbarian invasions. If you look at the behavior of European people, they kind of like giving people flowers and things, and they wear dresses and they wear clothing like they do now, trousers and shirts. They wear trousers and shirts rather than tunics, something like that. So I think a lot of their behavior and characteristics are quite barbarian in nature. It comes from those barbarian invasions, and I think that is very unusual in the world, because Europeans claim to be European in nature, but I believe they're actually from Asia Minor, and they're perhaps barbarian in nature. If you look at how those barbarian invasions look like, you can have a look at those Colosseums and those gladiator combat fights. I think those barbarian invasions look like those gladiator combat fights. It looks like those masks, those forks and swords, and those gladiator costumes. That's how those barbarian invasions look like. It is quite shocking to see an image of barbarian invasions that look like that. But I think that's how barbarian invasions look like. Those gladiator fights in the Colosseums, they wear those silver masks that have a tear on the right eye, and they seem to be very haunting in complexion, and they also seem to have funny helmets and armor, and they carry nets and they carry forks, and I think that's the vision of barbarian invasions in Europe. Thank you very much. Thank you.